Hello everyone, I am Be Better Gamer, and welcome to my WWE 2K15 Let's Play series. This is actually only my second video in the series. I just got this game recently. For my channel, I've been doing mostly Let's Plays of the AKI developed wrestling games, WWF No Mercy, WCW NW Revenge, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, but WWE 2K15 was on sale. It was half off on Xbox 360. I downloaded it. Don't regret it because I'm finding myself to really enjoy the game. This game gets a lot of heat, like anything wrestling related. You're always gonna piss off someone. But I don't know. I don't know why it gets a lot of heat. It's an okay game. Yeah, it's not the best wrestling engine. That belongs to the AKI developed wrestling games, in my opinion. But I love the production values, I love the presentation, I love the creative wrestler mode and all the different things you can do with that. And I just think the problem with this game and most of the other 2K games, and before that, you know, Ukes was with THQ and the you know, WWE 13 and 14, all that stuff, or 12 I should say. And even before that, SmackDown games, I was never a fan of any of those games really, because I thought the controls weren't as intuitive as the AKI developed wrestling games. I feel like anyone who's playing a wrestling game is a fan of wrestling. I mean, I'm not going to play Madden and I don't watch football. You know what I mean? It's like, that's just kind of weird. I'm sure there are people who do that, but I don't know. I feel like for sports games in general, or wrestling games in general, you're probably a fan more likely than not if you're playing the game. And so if you're playing the game, right off the bat, you want to try to do what you see. You want to emulate what you see. There's already a shared knowledge. You know, if you're playing Madden, you know what a play action looks like. If you're playing a wrestling game, you know the difference between a grapple and you know, a regular weak move or strong move or finishing move. And with this game, you don't have that pick up and play. You can't just pick up and play. Things aren't simple. It's very complex. There's a lot of layers underneath other layers, of like the grappling system, of the striking system, of the submission system, even, you know, running outside the ring, diving off the top. I mean, and that's not because it's badly designed. I think it's just there's a level of complexity there that isn't easy to just jump in and grab a hold on to, unlike the AKI developed wrestling games. Obviously those games were much more limited because of, you know, they're coming out on the N64 and this is a game on the Xbox 360. But at the same time, as I'm playing the game, as I'm learning the game, I'm starting to get a hang of it, and you really can get a good wrestling game out of this. If this game had the AKI wrestling engine, it'd probably be the best ever. I don't know why they just don't do that, but who knows? I'm not a designer. Maybe there's other things to it, or maybe they just have a different vision for what these games play like. I will always be biased to the AKI developed wrestling games, but I do think they are the best in terms of gameplay. But obviously you can't deny the production of these games. Also, this is a modern wrestling game. I'm playing right now as Cesaro against Big E, against Kofi Kingston. Tyson Kidd's my partner. You know, the WWF No Mercy created wrestler mode can only go so far, especially with all these new moves that a lot of these wrestlers do. It's been 15 years since that game came out, so I really wanted to experience that. I really wanted to experience a more modern wrestling game. You know, I've really neglected a lot of the other wrestling games that came out. I kind of just shunned them because I'm such a AKI, you know, wrestling snob. But you know, I do think this game has a lot of merit, and I'm excited to continue playing it. But for these first two episodes, it's just so fitting that you know, I'm doing all these Let's Play videos. WrestleMania 31 was Sunday, so my first two videos are centered around WrestleMania 31. But going forward, I'll probably do the NXT playthrough of this, because I gotta unlock all the NXT guys, probably try to unlock everything else that's in this game. So I look forward to that. But you know, we're gonna talk about WrestleMania 31. Happened Sunday. I watched it on the network. I watched WrestleMania 30 on the network. I've been a network subscriber for a whole year. I'm a big fan of the WWE Network. If you've watched any of my WWF No Mercy Let's Play videos, you can hear me talk extensively about the WWE Network on a lot of occasions. And I really enjoyed the pay-per-view. I probably enjoyed it more so than WrestleMania 30. I think as a whole, as a package, the pay-per-view was very fun. It was very enjoyable. The matches weren't stand out. There weren't any match that really blew me away in terms of the wrestling that went on. I thought the Triple H Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 match was such a great wrestling match. But there was a lot of great moments. WWE has kind of evolved to this. I guess it's always been about the entertainment with WWE. It's always been about the spectacle. If you really want to watch it for wrestling, those moments are going to be few and far between. Even though they have such a talented roster, wrestling kind of takes back page to the WWE machine with being this big presentational powerhouse of what wrestling should look like in terms of entertainment. But nonetheless, I still enjoyed the matches. I thought a lot of great stories were told in the ring and out of the ring, and we'll get into all that. I'm gonna try to emulate the matches as best as I can. I'm not trying to do match for match, move for move. I'm mostly playing as the people I wanted to win, but since I'm not that good at this game yet, I lose a lot. So you're gonna see me lose a lot. I win more than I did in my WrestleMania 31 predictions video, so that's good. I'm getting a little bit better. But yeah, it's just tough to get a hold to, like right there, like I remember playing as Tyson Kidd and whipping people to the rope, just figuring out how to whip them to the ropes and how to maybe bring the guy in. At that moment I knew I wanted to go for a submission hold, but I'm not familiar with all the moves that Tyson Kidd has. And it's different. It's not like No Mercy where, you just have the regular A and you do a submission. There's directional influence involved, and I always keep forgetting that because I'll be walking to the guy, going for a submission, and then I realize that there's another move. Also, if you hold the button down, you do like a different kind of submission. So you really have to know the ins and outs of this game in order to, really enjoy it, I feel. But, I was having fun and figuring out how not to lose while I play this game. My AI partner for some reason is not as well adept to this match as my opponent is. I feel like my opponent's partner is always coming in at the right time. Meanwhile, whether it's Cesaro or Tyson Kidd, whoever I'm not playing as, they always seem to be messing it up. And I don't really know if there's a way to call them in to help you yet. I'm sure there probably is. It seems like there is an advanced option for that, where you can call your opponent in. At the beginning of the match, you might have saw I was kind of debating whether or not I should control both of them or have the computer control one the whole time. But I didn't want to make a tag and then just watch the computer and computer go at it. I didn't know how that would feel. Also, that would take away opportunity for me to learn how to play the game. But nonetheless, I'm doing Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, and there I go. I'm going. You're gonna see me do that a lot. You're gonna see me go into the menus, try to figure out like what the hell am I doing? How do I do this? How do I do that? Especially with the finishers, because again, it's not as simple as the AKI developed wrestling games where everyone's got a front and back special, and everyone does it the same way. You do your strong grapple, you hit the control stick. Most people have a turnbuckle special. In No Mercy, they introduced submission specials, and again, it's all done the same way. Once you have your special meter, you just check to see what they do there. Here, they only have specials and finishers as it relates to their character, as it relates to the wrestler in real life. So, which is cool, which is very cool because it's a little bit more accurate, but at the same time, you have to kind of know what they do, but at the same time, a guy might have a signature move that you're not aware of. It's like, oh, they do that if I have a signature move? Okay, how do I do that? Oh, I gotta be in the top rope and they gotta be standing? Oh, okay. And you don't have to do your signature to do the finisher. You could just bank your signature into a finisher. But I think the whole deal is that if you do your signature, then you do like the up taunt right after it. They get up, and usually they'll get right into your finishing position. And it also makes your finisher a lot stronger because you have like a flashing finisher as opposed to regular finisher. Again, it's stuff like that. That's like, if you've never been exposed to this game, you won't know it unless you look at it, read the controls, play the matches, figure it out. go online. It's not as simple as like, oh, just hit taunt and then strong grapple and then taunt and hit the control stick again. Boom, you're done. But anyway, I'm playing as Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, going up against Big E and Kofi Kingston, who are the New Day right now. Obviously, this game came out before they were doing the New Day gimmick with Xavier Woods. And I don't even think Cesaro and Tyson Kidd were probably teaming up, you know, during development. Because Tyson Kidd is wearing a little bit of his older tights. They were in a 4-way match at the pre-show against the Usos and the Los Matadors. The Usos are in this game. I didn't choose the Usos because I wanted to, I don't know. Oh, this is pretty cool, the hot tag. So it's like a Quicktime event. I didn't know what activated the hot tag. All I saw was like, oh, press this for a hot tag. Like, okay. So I do that. I do the Quicktime event. And it's like, all right, I got a signature. Like, well, what's my signature now? So it kind of kills the hot tag momentum. And, you know, he does the cold blue and the heart lock, which I'm assuming is the sharpshooter. But no, it's not. Actually, it's not, because the sharpshooter is the is his finisher. So I don't really know what the heart lock is. I don't get an opportunity to figure out because I kind of lose my momentum with that pause right there, and Big E takes advantage. But Cesaro and Tyson Kidd won, which I was happy about. They were my predictions to win it. And I think the only reason why they won it, honestly, is because the Usos are injured. I don't remember if it was Jay or Jimmy. I always get them confused. And that's not a knock on them. I just, you know, they're twins. I don't remember who has the right face paint and who has the left face paint. It just happens. But one of them has an injury, and I think it was kind of cool that they kept the match, you know, on, and they let them come out together. But then right away, you know, the one who was injured got thrown off into the, you know, announce table, and they walked him out. So that was kind of, you know, bittersweet, because here they are, WrestleMania. They've been really hot this past year, and it's unfortunate that they go in injured. I wouldn't have been surprised if they were probably originally scheduled to win the match because of the whole Rikishi getting into the Hall of Fame and this and that. But nonetheless, Tyson Kidd and Cesaro have the belt, so that means we're going to get a little bit of a longer run out of this team. I'm looking forward to that. I hope they both shine as a team, so that when they do eventually split off, because they should split off one day, because I think they're both very talented individually, and they should have great individual careers, we'll get to see a little bit more personality from the both of them that gets them over. Tyson Kidd has been doing fantastic work in NXT as a heel. His feuds with Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn and even Tyler Breeze, fantastic. I just love it. He's really grown on me since when he first came into the, you know, WWE, before he was down in NXT. Cesaro's a beast. I mean, I love Cesaro. He was also in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and it almost looked like he was going to repeat a second year. That was a cool little nod to last year. You know, the weird thing about Cesaro last year is he won that Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and you thought something might have come out of it, but nothing really happened. Nothing really happened. There I am losing. I lost there because I just taken so much damage throughout the match, and that timing to kick out thing is not as easy as it looks. You're gonna see later on I mess up like in my first attempt, and that causes me to lose the match. And I don't know how I feel about that. You know, obviously in WWF No Mercy and the AKI wrestling games, and I know it's not fair to compare, but honestly, in terms of how you play a game, I feel like your initial reaction, if you're getting pinned, is to furiously mash the buttons, right? Because you watch wrestling, again, it's that whole, my knowledge of wrestling, the kicking out is a frantic moment. It's like, I don't want to be pinned, get off me, I'm gonna kick out. I'm gonna kick out now, I'm gonna kick out at 2, and your knowledge is you should only really get pinned if you've taken a lot of damage, if you've gotten beaten up, if you've gotten hit with a finisher, if, you know, if the match has just been going on for a long time and you're worn down. So to right away get pinned, and that first pin could potentially seal you away because you, the player, are not quick enough to press A at the right moment, or you don't know what that green bar is gonna be. I think that's kind of lame. I really do, because again, it's not intuitive. It doesn't recreate the feeling to when you're getting pinned, it's a frantic moment. It's like, oh my god, I don't want to lose right now. And instead of channeling that frantic energy to help you mash the buttons, and as you know, the faster, the harder you mash the buttons, the more likely you are to kick out. You have to sit there and like really focus and concentrate in under 3 seconds to really time that kick out. And it's unfortunate because like I feel like right there I probably would have kicked out. Like I know I was getting beat up, but he didn't just hit me with his finisher or anything like that. And Cesaro was slow coming in. Maybe I would have kicked out if it wasn't this. I didn't miss that first time thing. So that's how I feel about the kicking out. I'm not a fan of it. I don't get why they do it, honestly. And I do really think that that's one of the design choices that should be looked at going forward. Not everything has to be a timed event. I know Quicktime things are like so popular in games now, but you know, kicking out is a frantic situation, and it should. I mean, and it makes no sense that to submit a guy, you're tapping buttons. You know, like if I'm submitting a guy, why am I doing all the work to make him tap? He should be doing all the work to kick out of the submission. That's another thing too that's kind of frustrating. But whatever. I'll try to keep my hard critiques of this game as a minimum because I want to talk about WrestleMania, and I'll have plenty of opportunities to critique this game as I go along with the Let's Plays and discover this game relatively as a new player to the series. But here I am in a ladder match. But oh yeah, I guess real quick, Cesaro was in the Battle Royal. I mean, I wasn't looking forward to the Battle Royal. I thought it was kind of tacked on this year. I didn't think it was going to come back. Going into it, it was fairly obvious Big Show or like Miz or Mizdow was going to win. So I was a little hyped when it looked like Cesaro was going to repeat. But he did not. My prediction originally was for Mizdow, but then when Hideo Itami won the NXT tournament, I was totally rooting for Hideo Itami, even though I knew he was going to be eliminated early on, and he was. But he got to shine a little bit. I don't think he got put over enough. But, you know, all in due time, all in due time. I'm a big fan of Kenta. He's been around for a while, and I can't wait till he makes his debut. You know, Raw was last night. I did catch some of the highlights of Raw last night. Adrian Neville came out to a huge response. I think Kalisto made a great impact. You know, NXT has a lot of guys, like, these aren't just new guys. These aren't guys that are just, like, straight from the Performance Center, and that's all where they've been from. They have a lot of guys that are in these, you know, standouts, international standouts, have wrestled all over the world, have years of experience, and are pretty well known for the wrestling fan that watches outside of WWE. So I'm really excited to see what they do with these guys like Kenta, like Neville. And I don't know why they're just calling him Neville instead of Adrian Neville. Like Kalisto, like, you know, Finn Balor, aka Prince Devitt, like Kevin Steen, who's called Kevin Owens, you know, such and such. NXT, go watch it. WWE Network, you get the point. But Mizdow finally turned on the Miz. That was great. That was fun. And a lot of people were kind of upset that he lost. Here's the thing. Mizdow didn't need to win that Battle Royal because, as we saw with Cesaro last year, winning the Battle Royal doesn't really do anything for you, okay? It's just this kind of celebration. Realistically, it's there so a lot of guys get a WrestleMania payout and they get to participate in the show of shows, which is nice that they do that because for a long time they didn't really do that. Well, they tried. A lot of WrestleManias, they try to have these big matches with all these guys on it. They always try to get as many guys, you know, a WrestleMania cut as possible. But he didn't need the win, and I think if anything, he still came out of it strong because he finally turned on Miz, and that's the real story. The real story is, how is the Mizdow going to rise beyond Miz? Because now he had the big turn, and you know they're gonna have a fallout. They're probably gonna have a few matches down the road, but now is Damian Sandow ready? You know, a few years ago I liked him when he was a heel, and I feel like he didn't really have a lot of steam under him. And you know, he actually has a great podcast with Jericho about how he kind of got in trouble, and I think that's why he you know, was knocked down a peg or two on the ladder. But I'm excited for the potential of Mizdow, you know, climbing up the ranks as a potential contender to maybe the IC title or the US heavyweight title. And who knows, maybe one day he'll get big enough where we'll see him in the world title position, but I think it's a little too early to tell on him with that. Big Show winning it is a no-brainer. I mean, realistically, Battle Royal, unless you do what you did to Curtis Axel in the beginning and everyone gangs up and throws out the Big Show, Big Show's gonna win. And I'm surprised he doesn't win every Royal Rumble because of that. It was a great exercise I did as a kid when I went to like this summer camp kind of thing, where we were all behind this rope. We were all like in this fenced off area, and the task was to get as many people over the rope as we could without touching the rope. And we were kids. This was like elementary school. I was probably in like the 3rd or 4th grade, and I was the smallest kid. You know, I'm not too big of a guy. I'm 5'7" now, but I was always the front of the class back then. And so right away everyone was like, oh, let's put Jose, let's put him over because he's the lightest, it'll be easy. And here's like 25 kids all lifting me up. And that was the initial reaction. As fast as we could, try to get as many people over as we can. So we started going by the smallest person first. I think it's kind of funny that I went first beyond all the girls. That's how small I was. But as we went on, then we realized, well, now a lot of people are over the rope, but what about the bigger kids? What about the taller kids? What about the kids who are a little bit on the heavier side? How do we get them over? Because to stretch over a rope is a lot harder than when you have everyone together that can lift them up. So I was thinking that logic. my summer camp learning skills, like, nah, you gotta throw the Big Show out first. He's the biggest one. And then maybe Kane, and then maybe Mark Henry. Like, throw them out first, guys. Or they're gonna win the match. Or their odds of winning the match is gonna increase as it goes on. So, but whatever, Big Show gets his win. And I do have to say, again, I caught some of the Raw. I don't want to spend too much on these matches because they were the pre-show, and you know, the ladder match is going on while I'm trying to pull it down as Daniel Bryan, and I was so close to winning it right here, but I couldn't grasp the mechanic. That was my first time getting up the ladder, and you have to do like this back and forth with the control stick, like this up and down tug of war. And again, it's like, why don't I just mash the button? I don't know. But hey, I'm doing a 6-man tag team match a ladder match in a video game. That's pretty nuts. That's how far we've come. I look at it like that. You know, the good, the positive and the negative. The negative is like, you should just tap the freaking button. But at the same time, it's like, holy crap, I'm doing a 6-person ladder match in a video game. Like, this is nuts. I mean, it would be so cool if I could do like a 4-man ladder match with buddies or something like that, or even a 6-man. I don't know if you could do a 6-man online. You probably could, right? I haven't really tested this online. I don't really know too many people who have the game, but that would be neat if you could do a 6-man online match. Imagine how crazy that would be. 6 guys who actually know what they're doing in the match, always trying to take the advantage and put the ladder up. You know, here the computers are pretty much focused on each other. Every now and then you have a guy go up, like Ziggler right there. And grabbing them is weird too. Like, there you go, I see. And this is another moment. This could have recreated the ending, me knocking off Ziggler. But I fall there, and I don't really know why I fell. I don't know if Wade Barrett was actually hitting the ladder, but I was just so far away, it didn't look like it. I don't know. And now, who's that? Cody Rhodes, aka Stardust now, getting another ladder. I think Luke Harper's going to win it. I think, yeah, he wins it. Look how fast he gets the ladder. I guess it is kind of like No Mercy. The computer gets the money in the bank briefcase or whatever to win it. But Daniel Bryan won it. He won the IC title, which I predicted. I mean, I favored Ziggler a little bit more, only because I knew whoever got the IC title is kind of going to be taken away from the world title position. And honestly, I felt Ziggler needs a lot of wins under his belt to establish him as a future world title contender. But it's great that Daniel Bryan got it, because now that Daniel Bryan's the champion, hopefully we'll get some, you know, Bryan Danielson circa his time in Ring of Honor as the Ring of Honor champion. And Daniel Bryan can work a great match with anyone, you know, pretty much. You know, I even enjoyed his matches with Randy Orton, and I don't really like Randy Orton, but you know, I think it's a good thing for him. I think it's a good thing for the title. I mean, they played that video package about the legacy of the IC title, and you know, guys like Steamboat and Macho Man, and you know, all these people who had these long, extensive runs as the IC title. And the IC title used to mean, like, you know, the workhorse of the company got it, the guy who was always, you know, ready to deliver a solid match with anyone, you know, kind of like the best worker in a way of the company, as opposed to the best superstar. And Daniel Bryan is definitely that. And I talked about this in my other video. If anything, he's got the potential to put over a lot of the guys who come in from NXT, because they've all worked with him before, they've all put on great matches before that, and that can open it up to the WWE audience, and we can get behind them a lot faster if they're putting these great programs with Daniel Bryan. And it raises the stakes, because you know, the IC title, as long as Daniel Bryan has it, it'll be a little bit more higher up in the card in terms of like main event features. So I'm excited about that. You know, last night on Raw, right away they had him and Ziggler go at it. You're gonna see a lot more of that. You're gonna see a lot more of Daniel Bryan defending the title against other great wrestlers and given a lot of time to show what they could do in the ring, and that's gonna help put a lot of guys over. I just hope Daniel Bryan stays healthy throughout all of it, because that's always an issue. And maybe that's another reason why they're giving him the IC title belt, because they want to keep him in the main event picture. But Daniel Bryan losing the IC title belt because of his recurring injuries, it's a lot easier to write him off again because of that, as opposed to what happened when he was the world champion and they had to write him off because of his injuries. So happy for Daniel Bryan. The match itself was okay. It was good. I mean, there was a few big spots which were nice. I mean, it's probably difficult as hell to organize a 6-man ladder match, or 7-man actually, because R-Truth was in that one. But I think it was the problem more so, I think, was in the build-up, because it became this frantic who's stealing the title from who kind of build up, as opposed to 6 guys who all really want this title because they think they're the best. And I think that story didn't get to play out in the ladder match because of that. I think it was a little bit going through the motions in a way, not as a knock, but just in terms of they really didn't have to go above and beyond. Really, if you think about it, it was the opening match, and I think they did a good job. I thought Ambrose died when he got powerbombed by Luke Harper, and I wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see Luke Harper as this dominant force in the match, because I think there's a lot of potential there with Luke Harper. So these stories, I feel like now that there's a champion, a rightful champion, hopefully more stories will develop from this ladder match, and we'll get to focus on the singles competitive between each wrestler, as opposed to throwing them all in a scramble match. So yeah, that was that. Seth Rollins and Randy Orton now. This match was fine. I love Seth Rollins' outfit. I loved like the black with the gold trim. That was really cool looking. A little subtle detail to his outfit that I really thought put it over the top. I love when wrestlers debut new ring attire, or they do special ring attire for WrestleMania. Gets me excited because it knows, you know, they probably really care. All Randy Orton did was just invert his colors. Big whoop. Way to go, Randy Orton. way to step it up. You inverted your colors on your trunks. But there I go. I'm like, see, in this match, you can tell I'm getting the hang of the game now. I just hit the turnbuckle powerbomb with Seth Rollins, which Randy Orton didn't sell, which pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I don't get too upset when I watch wrestling anymore. I'm older now, have a family, it's just wrestling, it's a show. You know, I'm very passionate about it, yeah. But at the same time, you know, I know it's a work, and, you know, I'm just happy to be watching it. But when I see something like that, when I see Randy Orton no-sell a turnbuckle powerbomb, it's like, come on, Randy Orton. Sell a turnbuckle powerbomb for once. Everyone else does it. You're gonna win the match anyway. With the, you know, maybe he didn't want to sell the turnbuckle powerbomb because it would have been too cool, and he didn't want any cool things happening in the match beside his his RKO counter, which, you know, granted looks cool visually, but realistically it's like Seth Rollins, in order to pull that off, Seth Rollins is jumping off of Randy Orton, which is the opposite of the curtain stop. He should just be coming straight down. So I know you can make the whole argument, oh no, but he's pushing off. Like, no, he's not. He doesn't have that much strength in his back of his head to lift Seth Rollins, you know, counter his momentum, whatever, it's wrestling. I don't want to get into it. But this match was fine. I wanted Seth Rollins to win, obviously, because I'm a big Seth Rollins fan, but at the same time, as much as I knock Randy Orton, character-wise, story-wise, there's still a lot left to be told from WrestleMania 30 that we haven't really gotten into. He did not lose the title at WrestleMania 30, sort of like the situation at the end of this WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar didn't really lose the title. He himself didn't get pinned or submit. Same thing happened with Randy Orton. It was Daniel Bryan making Batista tapped out. And I think there was probably going to be a Daniel Bryan Randy Orton program because of that. But everything changed because of, you know, Daniel Bryan's injury. But Randy Orton has been kind of kept out of the title picture a bit. And the dude never got his rematch. And I kind of want to see that, because there are moments where Randy Orton has that fire in him where it makes the match interesting. And I did think this match was interesting because there was a fire under Randy Orton. He really did seem like he wanted to beat Seth Rollins and put Seth Rollins in his place. If you think a few months ago, and I might be reading too much into this because they didn't really build this up, but if you think back a few months ago, it was Randy Orton who got beat by Roman Reigns. So he doesn't want to lose to this other young-comer upstart, you know, especially if Randy Orton is still preaching that he needs to get his title shot. And here he is losing to all the new guys. You know, that was his whole shtick. He was the Viper, taking out the legends. Is he now in the legends category already, taken out by all the hungry new guys? So, especially if you consider how the night ended with Seth Rollins winning the title, I think there's potential there for Randy Orton and Seth Rollins, because Randy Orton beat Seth Rollins in front of everyone, WrestleMania, with an RKO out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere. And yeah, I think there's potential there, and you know, I would be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to it, even though I'm not a huge fan of Randy Orton. But here we go, Sting and Triple H. So surprised this was the third match, but I guess it made sense later on. You know, once they started showing the video packages, I was like, what? This is a third match? But you know, it makes sense because these guys, you know, Sting hasn't wrestled for the WWE ever, and that's a very landmark moment, but at the same time, he hasn't wrestled at all for the WWE ever, and he's only wrestled in Impact Wrestling the past few years, or I should say decade, really. And Triple H, the last time we saw him wrestle was, you know, right after the fallout of WrestleMania, when he was teaming up with the Evolution against the Shield when they were still together. So I guess they went to like the kind of the New Japan route. We put the veterans a little bit closer to the beginning of the card because there's no title at stake. There's no, you know, big stipulation at stake. It's just a dream match, really, finally coming to fruition. Sting is here. I was so pumped. Loved his attire, loved his jacket, loved his like subtle red, you know, mark under the face paint. Triple H's Terminator's entrance was pretty cool. I follow uprocks.com's wrestling section, which is called With Spandex, and he perfectly, the writer of that article, perfectly details this match, how silly and absurd and crazy it became, because it starts out fine. I mean, I was into it. They were telling a great story, like two veterans do, in terms of the back and forth, the face getting the dominance over the heel early on, old school type wrestling, and not even that much old school. I'm just like, even 15 years ago, you still saw a lot of that with Austin and his matches, but you don't see a lot of that anymore, and it was great to see that. And then all of a sudden DX comes out, and then the NWO comes out, And I was losing it. I was losing my mind because they went there. I didn't think they were going to go there. You know, the whole time they've been building up this whole WCW and WWE kind of thing, and then Sting comes out. He's like, I'm not fighting for the WCW. Like, what are you talking about? And they're still trying, like, no, yes you are. You're totally talking about WCW. He's like, no, I'm Sting. I'm here. I'm going to beat up Triple H because he's a jerk. But when they brought out DX, you know, in the back of my mind, I was like, who's Sting got? Sting doesn't have anyone to help him. Who's going to come out for Sting? You know, Luger, you know, we all know Luger's situation. And then the NWO music hit, and I was like, they're going to do it. They're going to do NWO DX. They're going to do WCW WWE. And now it makes sense. Now it makes sense in the context of the ring. Seeing these guys who are all old and way past their prime, some of them. Sting looked great. Sting looked fantastic. 57 years old, the dude can still go. Triple H is still in phenomenal shape. But you know, you look at Hogan, you look at Nash, you look at Scott Hall, X-Pac, Billy Gunn still looks great. Road Dogg can still go. Shawn Michaels came out of nowhere. You know, who knows if he can still go or not. I wouldn't be surprised if he can. But, you know, yeah, it might have been 15 years too late or whatever, but at the same time, that didn't take away from how special it was. And the fact that they took this opportunity to go there and take us to that place and to kind of bury the feud. I felt like it was a symbolic closing of the whole WWE WCW mess. Obviously, WCW closing wasn't just because WWE was, you know, had competition and they changed their program and we got the Attitude Era. Everything was super competitive, but if you know the real story of WCW and their fall, there was a lot more to it than that. And, you know, Vince McMahon buying up WCW wasn't like, oh, I bought out my competition because screw that guy. He gave all these guys jobs. He kept the brand alive. Now we can still watch the archives on the network. It was the same thing with the territories. Everyone thought Vince McMahon was kind of evil and messed up for going into the territories and, you know, quote unquote stealing all these guys. He was just making wrestling all under him, and he wanted to be the one controlling it. But he wasn't out to kill wrestling. If anything, wrestling always got better when you absorbed, you know, well, that's debatable, but great things always came out of it. And to finally close this chapter of like, oh, who would win in a fight, WCW, you know, WWE, DX, or NWO, it was just great to see. But I think what made it even more special is that in the middle of it all, Triple H and Sting were having a great match. And yeah, Sting lost, and I tried to get him his win back here, but Triple H countered my special. And when you counter a special in this game, you get a special, which is pretty cool. I like that feature. Even though I lost to it, but whatever, I still like the feature. I don't think we've seen the end of Sting. I think he's got, after seeing that match, he's got 1 or 2, maybe even 3 good matches left in him. And he's such a great storyteller in the ring. That comeback at the end, that fire he had under him in the corner against Triple H. I was watching it with a buddy of mine who isn't a huge wrestling fan. You know, he doesn't follow it like I do. You know, he of course he remembers fondly Sting back in the day and the NWO DX, but that's really much where it stops. It stops from his association with it as a teen. So seeing Sting so many years later was kind of cool for him. But I think we both shared the same reaction when Sting was coming at Triple H in the corner. It was like, here he is. He's gonna do it. He's gonna beat him. and even when Sting took that dive from the top rope outside, it was a great match. And it was such a wrestling match. It was so wrestling. You know, there's that YouTube video, Wrestling Isn't Wrestling, where, Max Landis goes through the history of Triple H. And I think he nails it there. And I think this match was a perfect example of it. It was so wrestling, it hurt. And it hurt in a good way. And I loved the match. personally, it was my highlight of the night. It was my own personal highlight of the night. I'm not saying it's better than other matches. When we watch wrestling, when we watch WrestleMania, when we watch SummerSlam, when we watch anything, when we watch New Japan, you know, Wrestle Kingdom 9, when we watch Ring of Honor, when we watch Lucha Underground, we all take something different from it. And I went in with this match with high expectations for something, and I got something completely different, and I ended up loving what I got. Because they went in the direction I didn't think they would go, and it worked. It worked. It was so wrestling. It really took you back to that era, to that time. And you know, these guys are old. You know, they don't go as you know, fast as they used to, as hard as they used to. But I was telling my friend, yo, if Goldberg came out right now, I think this would go hands down one of the greatest moments ever in WrestleMania history. But he didn't come out, but it was cool. I dug it. Again, yeah, Triple H winning, alright. I think in the long scheme of things, that's better for Triple H's character right now, to get some more heat under him for if they do go through with the Rock, Ronda Rousey thing. But I also think that gives Sting something to prove. If you really think about it, as a face, yeah, he didn't come into the WWE, and I think there's still so much potential. We have such a limited time left with Sting as a wrestler. Who knows if this was his last match? Who knows if the next match was his last match? But there has to still be something that he wants. He got his WrestleMania moment. Now he needs his WWE victory. He needs to prove himself that he could compete with the big boys. And he didn't lose cleanly. It was a no DQ match, and the odds were definitely stacked in Triple H's favor. He hit him with the sledgehammer, so he still has something to prove that, hey, if I can go one-on-one with someone, you know, where DX and NWO is not coming out, I'll probably win because I'm Sting. And he probably would have won if they didn't have all that stuff. But because they had all that stuff, it went that, you know, WWE great storytelling route. And I dug it. I really dug it. Yeah, it was great. It was great to see that. And I'm really happy I got to experience that. I hope we get another great Sting match. And honestly, after seeing Sting and after seeing Undertaker last night, well, not last night, 2 nights ago, I'm not more hesitant about Sting Taker. You know, there's a lot of talk about Sting Taker, and for a while everyone really wanted to see it, and then it's become the thing where it's like, oh, but they're both so old. You know, if a guy can go, a guy can go, and don't count these guys out. And Sting took control of the WrestleMania match. He seemed so at home, and it's because he's been wrestling for, you know, it's not like he has been sitting at home for 14 years like they want you to believe. But it's still a big moment. I mean, Ultimo Dragon, when he came out for his big WrestleMania, you know, debut, you know, the guy was tripping all over the place. And I say that as a huge fan of Ultimo Dragon, but, you know, sometimes the nerves can get you, and Sting just seems so comfortable. He seems so at ease. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Taker Sting match, you know, hopefully by WrestleMania 32, if not before. It'll be much better than we thought it would be. So yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to whoever Sting faces next. And you know, I've been talking quite a bit about this Divas match. No disrespect to the Divas. I thought the Divas tag match was good. I would have preferred to see some sort of, like, you know, 4-way dance for the title maybe, or something like that. Considering, you know, the NXT women's title had that great 4-way dance between Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and oh man, what's her name? I always keep forgetting her name because it's such a simple name. Oh man, she's gonna hate me for this. Oh man, it's like I always forget her name. I'm not that familiar with her. I only remember she's around when she's, you know, showing up in NXT. But anyway, that 4-way dance for the women's title was so good, and I felt like that could have been an opportunity to give the actual, you know, Raw Divas, SmackDown Divas, whatever you want to call them, but the main roster divas a chance to shine and say, hey, we could do that too. We're just not given the time to do it on Raw. And honestly, they weren't given a whole lot of time here either. They were given, I think, under 10 minutes, which isn't a whole lot of time to tell a tag story. But I think they did a good job. I think Paige showed some great intensity during the match, throwing the Bellas around. AJ Lee's counter into the finisher was great. I think the Bellas have greatly improved. And it's great to see that they did have a nice tag match. Unfortunately, you know, with the caveat of it's the shortest match of the night. It was right after a lame rock concert, no, not rock concert, but musical performance that I still don't know why they do it. I understand like live music during wrestlers' entrances, but to have like these live act breaks, like I guess they must be just so people could get up, use the restroom. I mean, if you think about it, they already have been watching the event for about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours if they've been watching the pre-show, if they've been in their seats from the pre-show. So this is like kind of like their halftime break or whatever. Go use the restroom, go get some food, because really you didn't come here to watch Skylar Grey perform. You came here to watch some wrestling matches. To come in after that, it's hard to come in. I mean, you see it if you go to live events. It's always hard to come back from an intermission. It takes a lot to get the crowd back into it. I think they did it as best as they could. I enjoyed the match. I think the NXT women's division has to grow beyond just these 4 women. They're obviously the best workers on the main roster, but I think we need Charlotte. And I think even we need Bayley or Sasha Banks. She's an NXT Women's Champion right now. I kind of want to see her have her NXT Women's run, help build up some of the other future women's competitors that can be coming into NXT, because you don't want to completely usurp everyone from the women's division in NXT, because then you'll have no one in NXT anymore. So I say keep Sasha for now in NXT as the champion. Let her get her long run, but Charlotte needs to come up. Bayley should come up. I think that would be neat. Involve Natalya more. Try to get the what are their names? Cameron and Naomi involved more. Help them polish their skills. I think there's potential in them as well. Really give them time. Basically, is just give them time to do what they need to do to show they can compete. Don't give them 3-minute matches on Raw or less than that. You have a 3-hour show. Everyone should be wrestling more, especially the women's division. Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. But I enjoyed their match. Thought it was a good effort. Look at Brock Lesnar, the Beast. We'll get to him in a bit. So I think the next match after that was Cena and Rusev. And here I go. I'm going into options because I realized halfway through while I'm playing it, I'm going to be doing voiceover for it. Maybe I should turn off the commentary, Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler. And I think it's like the voice sound, like the voice settings, but I didn't know. I didn't have my headphones on, so I wasn't about to, do it and that take out something else. I'm pretty sure it's voice. I still have to check it. So hopefully in my next video, I won't have the commentary of I wish it was JR, Jerry Lawler and Michael Cole, because, probably to hear me talk over that is a little disorienting. So yeah, up next was Cena and Rusev, who hands down had one of the greatest WrestleMania entrances of all time. A big pet peeve of mine though is when the champion enters last. I think no matter who you are, even if you are a big star like John Cena, obviously you have more of a marquee value than Rusev. But Rusev's the champion. I think if anything, that humbles your character a little bit more, because maybe we're always used to seeing you come out last because you're the champion, but now you're not. So now you got something to prove. You got to get that title back. Let the champion come out last. I was looking around in the menu for Rusev because I know he's in this game, but you got to unlock him in NXT, and I didn't realize that. At this moment I realized, oh, there's like no NXT guys here. I probably got to play the NXT mode. So I choose Sandow to go up against Cena because I was like, let me just play as Sandow. This match doesn't last long, and which is fine because I don't have a lot to say for the Cena Rusev match. I thought it was a fine match. Didn't think it was better than their Fastlane match. You know, again, the Rusev entrance was great. Built him up as a great heel, as a great personality. To see him lose after that entrance is a little weird. But I think we all knew Cena was going to win, unfortunately, because that's just John Cena. A lot of people are saying, oh, but it brings credibility to the U.S. heavyweight title. I think if you have a champion who can't be beat, that brings credibility to a U.S. heavyweight title. I think Rusev has been getting a lot of momentum. I think a lot of people are starting to really get behind him. And I think having him put into a position where he has to win as a heel is making him become a better heel right in front of our eyes. I hope he gets the title back, honestly. Maybe this will light another fire under him as a heel, and we'll see another sides of it. But you know, when you're built up all that time as being undefeated and then you lose on the grandest stage of them all, like it does definitely affect your momentum. And to give it to a guy like Cena, who people already are divided on, now they're gonna probably want you to get it back. I don't know. It puts both of them in a weird position. I would have liked to see more out of this match. Lana's interference seemed a little strange and off, and I didn't like that it was a distraction. You know, what does he call it now? Attitude adjustment that won the match, because the whole build up for this match was they were both making each other tap out and pass out. You know, and Fastlane, you know, he kicked him and he knocked him out, and then faked put him in the accolade, you know, the camel clutch. The past Raws was Cena making him tap out to the STF and you know, or STS really. And getting the match, and then Rusev getting his payback, putting him in the accolade for real now on top of the table and making him submit there. So you thought this match was going to be a battle of the submissions, and it's like, nope, Lana was on the ropes. Cena's a jerk. He lets her get hit. He's not a gentleman. Ducks out of the way so she can get knocked off. He gives him the you know, attitude adjustment, and he wins. Whatever. Honestly, I thought it was one of the more weaker finishes of the night. But still, that Rusev entrance made me happy. So, you know, the good and the bad. You always look for the positive as much as you see the negative. Because it's wrestling. This story's going to keep going on. Rusev is still going to be around as long as he stays healthy. And, you know, he'll get his day. You know, as long as we have guys like John Cena around, you know, that's just how it's going to be. I know Cena gets a lot of crap, but it's not his fault he got so popular, and then now people don't like him anymore because WWE refused to build anyone under him. You know, it's not like he's burying guys on purpose. Cena has lost a lot. You don't become, you know, 15-time world champion or whatever without a bunch of losses. You know, so I think that says something about his character. Unfortunately, they don't want to book him to really lose, you know, in these situations, but I think it would have really helped Rusev's character if he won. So a little disappointed to see that, and a little disappointed their match wasn't better than at Fastlane. So I really do recommend seeing the Fastlane match if you've yet to see it, because they did have a really good match at that pay-per-view, and it told a really great story. Next up, Taker and Bray Wyatt, and it confirmed one of my biggest fears watching the event was that, oh man, Taker's gonna come out in broad daylight, isn't he? Which is no big deal. It doesn't really kill the Undertaker gimmick. I mean, we all know it's smoke and mirrors anyway. It does help add a sense of mood. I mean, at least when he won, the sun was going down, and that was kind of cool, because if you want to read into that, maybe, like, you know, I'm sure maybe they weren't planning that, but I'm reading into it that even though Taker came out looking strong in this match, his days are numbered. This is a different Undertaker we've seen in the past few years. We've seen a more vulnerable Undertaker, and I felt like he really told that story. You know, he came out. It wasn't a big to-do. It was just him. There wasn't a parade of goths like how Bray Wyatt had all the, you know, Walking Dead kind of like scarecrow guys coming out. It was just Taker. Taker's coming out. We haven't seen him all year, and we knew he was fighting Bray Wyatt. He accepted via Titantron, you know, the match, and he came out. He looked great. He looked better than he did last year. You know, people are like talking about his hair. Like, come on, give the guy a break. He's 50 years old. Of course, he doesn't have a lot of hair. Sting didn't have a lot of hair. Stone Cold never had hair. But he looked physically. He looked well. He looked healthy, and he looked great. It didn't seem like he was struggling to lift Wyatt. And I think he's got at least, you know, 1 or 2 good matches left in him, maybe even more. Again, I don't want to doubt these guys. You don't know what they're capable of, especially a guy like Undertaker. I think the only thing that this match was lacking was what happens to Bray Wyatt's character after the fallout. I'm really concerned about Bray Wyatt now because of this loss to Undertaker. I was kind of hoping Undertaker would come out as American Badass. I talked about that in my WrestleMania 31 predictions video. But he didn't. He came out as the Dead Man. And I was thinking, like, alright, well, maybe they'll have like a great rough match anyway. They'll beat the hell out of each other. And Undertaker will give him the last rites, and then maybe he'll drag Bray Wyatt out. Maybe that's when we'll see the coffin come out of nowhere, and he puts Bray Wyatt in the coffin, and he takes him out. But then he takes him under his wing. You know, like, that would be kind of neat to see Taker take Bray Wyatt under his wing and maybe try to channel that spiritual energy that Bray Wyatt has, because it is too soon for Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt hasn't done enough to absorb the power of The Undertaker, if that's what he's going for. And that's what they really were trying to build this match up into. Where just, you know, last year's WrestleMania was Bray Wyatt's debut. So, again, Bray Wyatt's got a lot of years left in him. I'm not too worried. I think the Bray Wyatt character has a lot of miles under him, but I want to see him helped a little bit, and I feel like the ball is really gonna be up, you know, or I should say there really is gonna be a lot of responsibility for WWE to put Bray Wyatt's character in a position to look great, as opposed to just giving him the mic and having him cut these great promos. Yeah, he's cutting these great promos, and he works well in the ring, but if story-wise he's losing here, he's losing there, he's losing here, he's losing to the Taker, he's losing to Cena, he randomly wins sometimes, it's not consistent. It doesn't paint a consistent picture. Undertaker was mostly winning, and even when he was losing, he was still like getting up right away, or things like out of his control were causing him to lose. They need to start doing that with Wyatt. They need to start building him up, get the Wyatt family back together. Honestly, he needs a stable under him. He needs to show that he can control a group of guys, because there is a subconscious, I feel like, recognition of a leader. When you see a leader of a group, you're like, that's the guy, that's the big boss. You know that, you know, when you're playing a game and you go through level 1 and you beat the boss at level 1, yeah, he might have been tough, but by the time you get to level 9 and you fight the final boss character there, you know that he's bigger, badder, and better than level 1 through 8 bosses. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the mentality of watching a guy who's in charge of a stable. Like, that's the alpha dog, that's the boss, that's the guy you gotta beat. And Bray Wyatt solo right now, and picking up losses solo, is not helping strengthen his character. I thought the match was okay, honestly. It was okay. It was alright. I heard there was, you know, things that Bray Wyatt went into the match kind of injured. Last minute, you know, he sprained his ankle. I don't know how much that had an effect on the match. He took a really, if his leg was sprained or his ankle was sprained, I don't know why he would take that bump off the stairs then. But you know, I thought it was fine. I don't know if the chemistry was quite there between them, and I kind of hope we see more of this. I think there's a lot more room for Bray Wyatt Taker, but that's just me. Who knows? Alright, well, let's go to the main event, the highlight of the match, and I'm choosing Brock Lesnar because I wanted Brock Lesnar to win. And in my WrestleMania 31 predictions video, I talked about how it was almost a lock for Seth Rollins to cash in the Money in the Bank. Now that Brock Lesnar is staying under contract with WWE, I felt 99% confident that even if Seth Rollins was going to cash in the Money in the Bank, Brock Lesnar would still walk out the champion, and boy, was I wrong. A lot of people were surprised about how good this match was, and again, a lot of people are hating Roman Reigns, and I think it's just because right guy, wrong time. Really, like that's what it is. Because you look when he debuted with the Shield, everyone was cheering him the most, you know. And Seth Rollins has had this meteoric rise because he's just that good. Dean Ambrose has kind of been lost in the shuffle, but people still love him. But people turns their back on Roman Reigns, and I think it was really, like Rey Mysterio getting booed because he was number 30. No one ever booed Rey Mysterio before in his career, but because he's not Daniel Bryan, he gets booed, and I think that's what it is with the Roman Reigns situation. Daniel Bryan getting injured doesn't help. Roman Reigns getting injured doesn't help, because I feel like he lost some momentum, especially during those months. Nonetheless, this match was solid. It was strong style. It was stiff. This was a match that seemed like it would very well take place at the Tokyo Dome. I loved it, and you saw a big hint of that in Roman Reigns in his match against Daniel Bryan, who also can work a strong style with the best of them, which is, I think, another reason why people wanted to see Brock Lesnar against Daniel Bryan. But at least in this situation, Roman Reigns physically is almost as big as Brock Lesnar, and to see Roman Reigns take the punishment he did, I feel like strengthened his character. People are still booing him the night after Raw, and I feel like having him lose, WWE having him lose, having him being the one pinned by Seth Rollins, gives him something to strive for. I mean, it's the perfect story if you think about it. Roman Reigns with this legacy, the Samoan legacy, golden child, walks into WrestleMania and can't get it done. Regardless that he got screwed out of it because of Seth Rollins, he still couldn't get it done. He wasn't gonna get it done. He seemed like he was mounting a comeback, but Brock Lesnar still had a lot of fire under him, and it wasn't gonna be that easy for Roman Reigns. I really enjoyed this match. I think it was my second favorite moment of the night, and I loved it when Seth Rollins came out. I thought it was done so perfectly with the whole cashing in the Money in the Bank. Brock Lesnar took that bump or that hit against the rail or the turnbuckle post outside, and he hit it so hard it seemed like he busted up naturally. I wouldn't be surprised if he cut himself to bleed, but I think that added a sense of urgency and realism to the match that Roman Reigns so desperately needed. I think Brock Lesnar has always been underrated as one of the best sellers in the ring. Even back then, for a guy his size, for a guy who's built as this unbeatable monster, he knows how to sell as that unbeatable monster. He doesn't just lay down and stagger about. He staggers like a freaking train off its rails. Like the way he was moving around the ring, taking those Superman punches. It's like watching, is like the tower gonna fall? Is he gonna lean left, lean right? Like it's amazing. Really dug it, really into it. Yeah, and now there's so much more to work with. I mean, obviously from the Raw from last night, he's quote-unquote suspended. I think Brock Lesnar is now gonna be the top babyface in the company, honestly, especially as he tries to get his title back. And I don't know if they're gonna do the whole thing because he invoked his rematch clause, but then the match didn't really finish properly. If that takes him out of his rematch or whatever, he's gonna have to fight Roman Reigns again for a spot, or maybe someone else. Will we get a Daniel Bryan Brock Lesnar match one day? I don't know. I hope that Brock Lesnar now is in the company. We get a lot more mileage out of it. And I'm even starting to rethink my dream fantasy match of Brock Lesnar and Stone Cold WrestleMania 32, because they are turning Brock Lesnar babyface. So we'll see what happens. It's gonna be interesting to see how long Seth Rollins holds on to the title for. That kind of worries me a little bit because a lot of champions who got the title from cashing in their money in the bank, it doesn't last long. It's kind of like a bittersweet thing. It's like, yeah, they got the title, and then they lose it like the next pay-per-view or like a few weeks later. And they're in that run from gaining the title wasn't as significant as the moment when they cashed it in. I hope that doesn't happen with Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins is in a great position right now to be one of the future top heels. He's already one of the top heels in the company, and this is a guy who's probably going to be around 10 WrestleManias from now. I think there needs to be a lot of passing of, symbolic passing of the torches going around, and Seth Rollins is definitely one of them. I wouldn't be surprised if Roman Reigns doesn't get the title for a while now. Again, I think there's a lot there to mine with him being this golden child who maybe now we start seeing a real chip on his shoulder. Maybe he starts to get opportunities to reclaim what was rightfully supposed to be his, and he starts coming up short for whatever reason. I think that would be very interesting, and I think if we can see that journey, if we can see Roman Reigns actually work as hard as he worked in the Brock Lesnar match, in the Daniel Bryan match, people will start cheering for him again, like they did when he was like the badass enforcer of the Shield. Again, I don't know why people hate on Roman Reigns so hard. I understand it's probably more of a backlash against WWE and how they script things, but here's the thing. These guys are going to be here for a long time, and we really are seeing a changing of the guard. And as much as I love Brock Lesnar's time is limited. His pay-per-view time is limited. He's only got a few more years left in him. There's only so many more years that we have guys like John Cena working a full schedule. Kane and Big Show are on their way out. A lot of the, I did it in my WWE No Mercy Hall of Fame video. I talked about all the guys that are still around from WWE, WWF No Mercy, that are still on the active roster, and there's not a whole lot of them, and a lot of them are working part-time positions, and there's not a whole lot of full-timers. So I think we're at that point now where you're going to see a lot of these up-and-comers work their ways into the spot, and as long as they're careful about it, they won't set them up for failure, and I think that's the most important part. I think Roman Reigns losing the way he did was great. It doesn't set him up for failure. I think if anything, it strengthens his character. It gives both him and Brock Lesnar something to go after. I think a lot of people would love to see a rematch. I know I would. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone else, but let me know if you think he should. I would like to see a rematch because there's only so few guys you can put in the ring with Brock Lesnar, and yeah, go hit each other as hard as you can. Like, you're not gonna have Brock Lesnar do that with a lot of guys. He definitely didn't do that to Cena too much. Maybe they snuck in some real jabs at each other, but it wasn't a strong style match like Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and there's only so many opportunities we can get. And I think Roman Reigns is a great worker in that sense. I think that's why the Samoans, they always get so much credit for how great of a workers they are, and I think Roman Reigns will turn a lot of people's minds around. I have a lot of faith in him. I'm not running out and buying Roman Reigns shirts, but at the end of the day, I'm not booing him. Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar. I would love to see the Beast keep being the Beast. It's going to be interesting to see when they bring him back and when he gets his title match. And Seth Rollins, we'll see. Seth Rollins has the potential to kind of be like the Daniel Bryan, where he works great matches with everyone, but since he's a heel, he's going to squirm. He's going to squirm to get out of a lot of his matches, and I don't know if that's a detriment to him or not, because yeah, he's not a powerhouse like a Brock Lesnar, like a Roman Reigns, but he's really good. He's a really good wrestler, and I'm really waiting for them to get back into the day where, like Ric Flair. Ric Flair was a great wrestler. Yeah, he cheated a lot. I'm talking about 80s Ric Flair. He cheated a lot to maintain the NWA title, but the dude can go. The dude can wrestle 1-hour matches. So at the end of the day, if he was cheated or not, didn't really matter all the time. It pissed you off because you wanted to see him lose, and maybe when he finally was gonna lose, he cheated to win. but most of the times he was beating you because he was better than you. He outsmarted you. He was a better wrestler than you, dirtiest player in the game. I hope Seth Rollins gets to shine like that. I hope we get to see Seth Rollins finishing matches with the Phoenix Splash, you know, and beating guys because he's out wrestling them, as opposed to always having J&J Security or the Authority run in. So anyway, yeah, that's my WrestleMania 31 reactions. Again, I love the event. If you've yet to watch it, go watch it. I'm sure it's been spoiled for you, but whatever. There's a lot of cool stuff to take away from there. It's on the WWE Network. I love it. Subscribe to the WWE Network. And, you know, now we're done. We're done talking about WrestleMania. I'm going to get back to my other games, you know, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, No Mercy, Revenge, and start doing more of the Let's Plays with that, where I'm just talking about the game and the wrestlers in the games. With this, I'll probably do some of the NXT stuff. So, you know, leave me a like if you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment. I read all the comments. Feedback is greatly appreciated. I'm a fan, you're a fan, and we're all fans. Keep staying a fan, keep watching wrestling, and I will see you next time.